Hi, welcome to Scrapbook Pal. I'm Kara, and today the Lawn Fawn Peas are wishing a happy birthday. So here is Be Happy, and this is the Pivot Pop-Up, the main mechanism and a panel, and I needed to cut out 2 panels. And then this is the scallop square from the Reveal Wheel Square window add-on. All right, I start by putting some Scrappy Tape on the 2 tabs of the panels for the Pivot Pop-Up, and I'm just going to take off the release paper and put each of those tabs behind the other, and that forms the panel for my Pivot Pop-Up. There are score lines on the panel, so I'm going to fold those and reinforce them with my bone folder. So the side creases go forward and the center one I folded back. It's kind of like a W when you see it on the side. Alright, I'm going to take some Lawn Fawn jet black ink to stamp my images because I'm going to be using Copic Markers for coloring. Now this is the pea pod, and I'm wiping off the top of it, and I will stamp that down so that I can put some peas inside. So I masked off the bottom part of the pea pod so they can be sitting inside there, and I'm positioning those peas into the pod, and I'll stamp those down. And then I want to get the back of the pea pod back in there, so I'm using a Copic multi-liner to draw the lines behind them. But now I'm going to do it a different way. So I masked everything up so I can position my next pea pod and decide where that's going to go. And then I'm going to leave that pea pod in the MISTI. So I wiped off the top, I stamped it down, and then I'm just going to mask the front of the pea pod again. And then with an acrylic block, I'm going to take my peas and I'm going to just stamp them each in there. So I'm going to mask that front one so that this guy can be behind him, and then mask him off so that there's another pea behind him. So whatever you want in the front, you stamp first. So front first, and then mask, and then everything else looks like it's behind. All right, now I'm going to stamp that pea pod back down, and that gives me the line behind those little peas. So that's the way I continue throughout the rest of the stamping, is that I chose to keep that pea pod in the MISTI and stamp my peas in with an acrylic block so that that pea pod could come right back down and put that line in the back of them. So there are several ways you could do it, but I just like this method the best, so I stayed with that till the end. Now, some of these pea pods have 2 peas in them, and some have 3. It's just whatever you want. This is just what looked right to me. So here comes that back part of the pea pod again, and then 1 more pea pod. And 3 more party peas. All right, so there's 1, 2, and the last pea in the pod. So I put on the back of that pea pod, and they're all set. So now I'm going to stamp some peas jumping in the air. They're very excited. It's birthday. And this is an entire like pea-plant that they're coming out of here. And I love these little guys with their little arms and legs. They're so cute. All right, so here's our last jumping pea, and they're all stamped. And now I'm going to put on some of those little tendrils and leaves that make it look more like it's part of the pea plant. So they're just kind of all over and tucked behind and up in front, just anywhere I thought I could add a little bit to show some of the greenery. So a few more leaves, and I just masked off so that they could be behind some of those pea pods. And now this stamp set also comes with these cute little speech bubbles And so I'm going to have a few of those guys saying yippee. This guy says yippee. And the other ones are going to say yay. Just another way to kind of make it all festive. And so now it's time for the faces. And there are so many faces in this stamp set. Just lots of little personalities for these peas. And you can see I'm just trying to balance the different expressions throughout the pea plant so that they're dispersed around the group. So just a couple more here. Here's the glasses. I think those are probably my favorite. I love those glasses. So 2 of them will have glasses, and then he's got his mouth open because he's saying yippee, and he's just got his mouth open. And then here's the cool pea. Here's our cool dude. And this one's given a wink and a little kiss. And this one has little smiling eyes. And here's another one with their smiling eyes. And then here's my last one. All right, now I decided that there should be on the front, that it was going to be real simple, but I thought it'd be fun if these little peas kind of crowded in together in a photo, and the photo is going to have this frame around it. So I decided where that pea was going to be, put it up on the MISTI door, and then took the frame away and stamped it down. And here I am doing the same thing again. And I probably didn't need to mask off that pea, but I wasn't sure if he was going to go past that or overlap, and he didn't. But now I masked the 2 peas so that this guy is behind them, and then stamp him down. And now it's time for their faces. So one with glasses and a smiling eyes, and then one with his mouth open, or hers. There we go. So that's it for the front, and now it's time to color everything. And I made this chart for myself to decide before I started what colors I was going to use for the peas. And this really helps me to figure out, do I want it brighter, yellower, greener, darker, just I ended up deciding to go with that one on the right that you can see up there. So 01, 03, and 23, all in the yellow-green family. So I'm doing sections at a time, and here I'm doing these 3 peas and putting in my shadows, and this is the darkest, the YG23, and then I'll blend that up with the YG03, blend that up into the lighter YG01, and then I'll come in with the YG01 and blend it all the way to the end again. Now once I have that all thoroughly blended, I want to come back with my darkest color, which is the YG23, to darken in those shadows once again because they were blended away. All right, now here's just one lonely pea, and I'm coloring the whole thing in the YG01, finding my shadows with the YG03, and it's kind of like just a curve on the lower left. And then I come in with the YG23, blend it out with the YG03, and blend it further with the YG01. And that's really the way I did all of those peas. So now it's time to start on those pea pods, and the insides of the pea pods are going to be a YG67. And I'm just getting the darkest shadow in there, and then I'll blend that up to the ends of the inside with a YG63. So it gives kind of a contrast of color with the limey green peas. This is more of a gray green. And I did a couple of those outer pea pods, but I'm going to show you how I did all of them with this one. So I started with the YG61 and colored everything. Just put like a base coat on with that. And then the stem part of the pea pod is going to stay in that 60s family. So 63 and 67 for the shadows, and then blend that back up with the YG61. But the pea pod itself, I wanted that a little brighter green, and so I'm taking the colors that I used for those peas, so the YG01, and putting a base coat over that 61, and then coming in with the 03 to bring in some shadows and blend that in with that YG01. And then this is even brighter. This is the YG05, brighter and darker. Blend that in with the YG03 and 01. And then come in with the YG06 as my darkest color down at the bottom. What I decided to do with the leaves is to go with, this is the YG05 and the YG63, and then just blend that back up with the YG05, and that's how I did all of the leaves. So here's one more leaf, and I start with the YG05, and I'm just coloring the entire leaf and then coming in with the YG63. I really liked this as a shadow for the leaves because it's a nice bright leaf, but the gray green of the 63 kind of gives it that nice shadow. All right, and I wanted to kind of give more of the look that this was a whole plant, so I'm just going to color in the bottom with the YG21 to kind of look like it's all one area. I colored the peas for the front of the card the same way, and there they are in the frame, and now I need to color those little party hats. So this is a B02, and then with the B05 I'm gonna color in every other stripe. So I didn't feel like I needed to really shade those party hats, but more give them some interest, and since they had those stripes on there, that's what I decided to do, was to give them two-tone party hats. And then there are pink ones as well, so the RV 23 and 25, and that's just how I did all of the party hats. And now it's time to decide where to stamp my sentiment on the front, and it's going to say Happy Birthday. And I just lined that all up where I want it. And then I'm using Lawn Fawn Artichoke ink and stamping that out. I'm going to do that twice to get a nice impression. And now I can just adhere my little pea grouping and glue on the frame. And that's it for the front of this card. It's a very simple front because there's a lot going on inside. And now it's time to put the pivot mechanism together. So I folded on the score line in half, and now I'm folding on the diagonal score lines, each one, and just creasing that down. And now this is how it folds up, so that you have this triangle at the top and what looks like, I don't know, little feet at the bottom. And I'm going to put some Scrappy Tape on everywhere on that triangle because that's going to hold it to the card. So there are triangles on both sides of the mechanism, and I want them fully covered with a strong tape. Next, I'm going to open up that mechanism again and put Scrappy Tape on the two, I'm calling them feet, I don't know, the square ends there. You can see from the fold all the way to the end, and that's what's going to hold the mechanism onto the panels. So I'm taking off the release paper and then setting it down so that the the two square ends that have the tape on it are at the corner edges of the end panels, and then it just folds all together. So on the inside of the card, I have to decide by opening it up where I want to put the sentiment. I'll make a pencil mark and make sure that my sentiment is lower than that area. I'm making up my own sentiment using offset sayings Christmas, and so the word from is from that stamp set, and then this is your from May Your, like May Your Christmas Be Merry. And now this is Harold's ABCs, and I'm putting together the word group. I'm finding where I want the last letter of that word and putting that on the door of the MISTI, and now I can put the rest of the letters up next to that last letter, the P. So the nice thing about Lawn Fawn letters and their sentiments is that they come on rectangles, so they easily line up together. So I have all those letters together for group, and I'm stamping that down. And again, I'm using the same Lawn Fawn Artichoke ink that I used on the front of the card. And now this is P from Hap-pea. So I'm just masking off that first part, the HAP, and stamping down the dash and the P. So it's going to say from your groupies. So I want to get that P down, and then I need an S on the end of it. And so I'm using the first letter of the word sorry, and that's also in the Be Happy stamp set. I masked off the other portion of the word, just like I did with the Hap from Happies. And now it's time to put in our mechanism. So I'm folding it in to figure out which is going to be adhered to the back and which is going to be adhered to the top, and taking off that release paper. And then I'm going to put it right on the fold of the card and press it down. And now I can take off the top release paper and then close the card. And when I open the card, voila, there's our groupies. I'll open and close it a few times just to make sure that it works smoothly, and it's all set. I hope you enjoyed our video today, and if you did, if you would like it and subscribe to our channel, thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye!